This is an overview of week 5, identifying your thesis and drafting your persuasive essay. This week, our focus is on the draft, and you'll find many resources in the Mind Edge to lead you through the process of creating a successful draft. As you can see, it'll start by asking you to consider the feedback that you've already received, and then it takes you through a series of events that will help you build your thesis statement. And it is color coded as well as easy to kind of digest. Notice the structure of the thesis statement is that argument, the topic, the argument, and then the 3 key points that you've been asked to identify in your writing notes. Notice the word because, and you'll see on many of your footnotes and notes that I've placed on your papers that I've given you examples of thesis statements. Using that because, and it's not required, but it does kind of force you to set up that formula that needs to be there for a thesis statement, which requires research suggests most compelling justifications for childhood vaccinations are safety-based. That's the argument, because there are many positive effects, there are a few risks, and there's a possibility children become sick after coming into contact with an unvaccinated child. So there you have your thesis statement. After you've gone through this, you'll be led to a graded exercise where you can create your own thesis statement, and then it will take you to the T formula. And I just want to pause for a moment because it's a really good way to think about paragraphs. T meaning the thesis or the topic statement. Whatever is the main point of your paragraph, that's what the sentence should begin that paragraph with, followed by evidence, which is your source material, and then analysis, your reaction and ideas about that key point and how the source that you have selected supports that idea. From there, we will head to the draft, and you'll see that it kind of breaks it down here in the directions. It breaks it down into 3 areas, and that includes the introduction, the body, and the conclusion. Let's take a look at the rubric, which is very helpful in seeing how you will be assessed. It's broken down into those 3 areas of introduction, body, and conclusion. In the introduction, we look for an overview of the topic. We want to understand what the topic is going to be and what the argument is. We don't need to know all the fine details or any statistics in that opening paragraph. Save the detail, the most specific information for the body itself, for the essay. But let us understand, give us perspective on the topic. At the end of the first paragraph or the introduction should be that thesis statement that we just saw with those 3 key points. Those key points will set up your body paragraphs. Each key point should be a body paragraph or a section if you write a little longer. And the body paragraph should be focused. And that, again, if we go back to the key point, it helps focus, stay on that point. The paragraph should have that T structure, the topic, and then it should incorporate some source or evidence, and there should be some discussion or analysis or reflection on what the source says and how it supports your ideas. The opposing viewpoint is worth 10 points, and it is important that it is evident in your essay. It typically can take place in a paragraph following the 3 body paragraphs of key points, where you introduce an opposing view, you give a source that supports it, and then you explain why it's not really the strongest or the best argument. Finally, the conclusion should summarize the main points of the essay. We need to see all of those 3 key points, and then draw some conclusion based on the evidence. In other words, you're kind of summarizing what you've already told us and perhaps giving us a little additional perspective. There are 5 points for the articulation, basically your grammar and spelling, and then 5 points for the correct use of citations in either MLA or APA. And you can see here there's guides in your Mind Edge for either of those. I'm going to take just a quick peek at a sample of an essay that has followed this. It's a good draft in a previous class. And we see it is about choosing a freelance career for a graphic artist. And she gives us the perspective. What's the single most reason for returning to school, employment? It can be, and yet a highly competitive graphic design field. The question of seeking employment within traditional design or becoming a freelance is a dilemma for those new to the industry. So we've kind of gotten the overview perspective of what this is about. And then at the end, we see the benefits of a freelance career include client choice, skill-specific building, and schedule flexibility. So those are the 3 key points, and that is the thesis statement. When we go to the body, are these paragraphs focused? Are they clearly focusing on a main point? Client choice is a benefit that freelancers often use. First point, right there in that topic sentence, followed by using client vetting, long-term employment job satisfaction can be maintained. And here we have some evidence quoting from an article. And then we move to the next paragraph, specific building businesses. It's another reason to consider a freelance career. And then we know that this article explains they're able to build their business based on their strongest skill sets. In her article, and we go on and see the evidence here, and then there's some discussion by the author, and the freelance can do likewise, outsource assignments that may not involve knowledge or skills that are beyond their range. So here is the analysis. Third, scheduling flexibility, another key benefit. And then again, evidence, explanation, and then on to the opposing viewpoint. One of the most obvious challenges freelance faces financial instability, and we talk about that. She gives a statistic as to the reason why this might be valid, and then she rebuts it. Another challenge, juggling multiple business aspects. Again, there is some evidence to support the opposing view, but she comes back and defends. And finally, we get to the conclusion. Freelancers are afforded many benefits that are not easily found. They're able to, and she goes through each of the 3 main points in a little more detail, in a slightly different wording, and gives us another aspect, another perspective of the argument, and ends with, of course, her works cited page at the very end. So that is the draft. I encourage you to go through these materials carefully, reach out if you need help, and be sure to look at this rubric before you actually submit your assignment. Take care.